Well, we obviously couldn't let Stacy leave before we talked to her recent partner in crime, Anthony Prozzi with the Ford Motor Company. First and foremost, thank you so much for being here today. It's such an honor to have you be part of our Style Summit. And I think you guys both raised some interesting questions talking about the idea of innovation. I mean, you guys both sort of stepped out of your career fields, moved in a new direction. So, Anthony, how do you go from being, very creative to being very engineering-minded? What sort of ideas and innovations go into, the design aesthetic of Ford?
Well, this idea that, there's a boundary is no longer there. We all work together. We all create and work towards the same vision. So, as a designer, we're looked to the as the zeitgeist. We're the ones that'll come up with the big idea, and we future what the world will be. And then we team up, and our engineers help us. Something that we pointed out, our scientists were able to derive from castor oil the foam fibers that create the instrument panel for the Focus Electric. And in turn, they're able to come to me and say, hey, look, we have this highly innovative, process that gives you all the things as a designer you want. Seamless proportions, quality of detail, textures, whatever you could dream of. So it's everyone on the same page working towards the same goals. That's the innovation.
Well, now, as far as recycling materials, I think both you and Stacy could talk about this. The idea of the new style consumer being extremely eco-conscious. So what are you guys seeing as far as trends are concerned, both, from your perspective and your perspective as well?
I mean, this was something that we talked about while we were on stage, but definitely I see that there are a lot of companies and what we would consider to be mass companies like H&M, that are doing these kind of conscious collections, they're aware of not only how their fabrics are being made, but where they're being made, who they're being made by, and there is this kind of global consciousness that we see in this consumer, and that is not just about clothing, that's about anything that they're going to purchase, whether it's, bamboo for their floors or, how their cars are made.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, the idea that is something eco-responsible, the is part is no longer part of the equation. I mean, that is the price of entry right now. And as part of a corporation like Ford, I'm proud that, we haven't just talked the talk. We are doing it. We're producing a vehicle like the Fusion that gets over 100 miles per gallon on its plug-in hybrid. It's become a reality.
So I know in Stacy's case, she's really empowered people to make important style choices in their life. How is Ford empowering people to make important choices in their lives as well in their vehicle?
Well, you said it, and Stacy has said this as well. It's the power of choice. So, for example, something like a Ford Fusion, this very sensual, seductive, bold statement of a car gives you the choice where you...
Are we talking about a man or something like that?
Well, I think it holds true for both, don't you?
Absolutely.
I just really would want to know his horsepower.
Well, and that's what makes it interesting, that we've created this paradigm shift where you can get this seductive vehicle, and you have a choice where with a 4-cylinder engine with EcoBoost, hybrid or plug-in hybrid, you get the performance that's expected. There is no compromise to any of that. Design has broken through.
I will say that the power of choice also allows the consumer not to have to compromise. And I think that's very important. Instead of being dictated to, the consumer is in the position to dictate what they want out of a car, out of clothing, out of any item that they're willing to purchase, because they do have that kind of power now. And that's pretty incredible when you think about what we're able to do, not only as consumers. That's a real force in any industry. And now the industries, I think, are really understanding that it's their responsibility to give consumers what they want.
Can't say it any better, folks. Thank you guys so much for being with us today. We're going to have one more interview coming up, but until then, make sure you watch Stacy's shows and make sure you check out the Ford Fusion. Thanks, guys.
His Ford Fusion.
Yeah.